Hello, Professor Francis and HS339. Today I'm going to show how to make a quick and healthy snack that you can store in the refrigerator for up to a week and a half, and that you can also grab on the go. These, I guess you could call an apple pie kind of bake, an oatmeal bake. And the first thing I'm going to do is I have a green Granny Smith apple that I peeled. And I just want to show my way of coring and chopping the apple, because a lot of people think they need an actual apple corer when it's actually pretty easy to core on your own. So what I like to do is half the apple and then half again, so we just have 4 quarters. And a little trick that I learned is to cut kind of on a downward angle into where the seed lies and the core should come out. Then you can just quarter these again. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because they are getting chopped and put into the batter, but I like to do the coring method on each piece that you see this in. So again, you can just quarter or cut into 3s for these apples because you do want a slightly thicker chunk to them. And this one doesn't need too much, just a small amount. And it's okay if there's some skin left on. You just don't want too much skin because when the apples soften, the skin doesn't get as soft and it tends to kind of be hard to bite into. Now what I do is then cut these into a relatively like thumb-sized chunk. And just push them to the side. I'm trying to do this a little quick. Now, it's okay if they're not even. Or remove a little seed that try to sneak into there. And I think you can see in the back over here, I already pre-measured some of my ingredients just to make it a little easier to follow along. So these chopped apples I will keep on the side, and I will get rid of everything I cored. In a bowl, you just want to mix 1/2 cup of liquid sweetener. I used agave for this, but you can use honey, you can use maple syrup, liquid cane sugar, pretty much any sweetener, but I definitely like to use agave for this recipe. So that's 1/2 cup of agave, then 2 eggs that were lightly beaten. This is 1/2 cup of milk that I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract mixed into, but you can also use any milk alternatives such as, flax milk, almond milk, soy milk, even, oat milk. And you just want to give this a good stir until everything's pretty incorporated. Once it seems like it's mixed together pretty well, it should have, just a liquidy consistency. And to that, I like to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, and I would say a pinch of salt, which is about a quarter teaspoon of salt. And again, this doesn't have to be mixed in too well. Now to this, I add 3 cups of rolled oats. There's 1, 2, 3 cups of oats. I'll just give this a light stir. It doesn't have to be incorporated too well yet, just so you're slightly coated everything. And now that that is mixed, this is where I like to add the apples. Now once the apples are in, I like to use a fork. I know some people like to use a whisk, but I find that sometimes with the whisk, the oats or, the chunks of apples kind of get stuck. And with the fork, it tends to separate just a little easier. So you definitely want to give this a really good mix. Like this is where the mix needs to be pretty good, because you want the egg to be evenly distributed to cover all of the everything. And it will be a little liquidy at the bottom, but that's okay. Once you feel, everything's incorporated, this can come to the side for a second, and we'll just give, I have a mini cupcake tin, but you can use the standard size cupcake tin or a muffin tin if you want bigger ones, but I like to use the mini ones only because I like to give in my daughter's lunchbox, and I feel the smaller size is better for her. So what you want to do here is give a pretty good spray of non-stick cooking spray. If you don't really like to use non-stick spray, you can use butter or maybe like a oil on a paper towel. And something else I did want to say about this is if you don't really like apples too much, you can definitely use something like peaches or pears, maybe even bananas. And I like to try to get, a good sized scoop into each one. Press it down a bit. They don't rise or anything, so they should be, pretty good to the top. And the reason I like these is they do hold up very well in the refrigerator. They can even be frozen. They could be used, crumbled up after they bake as a yogurt topping, or even an ice cream topping if you want to add some, healthy flavor to maybe a little bit of ice cream, or Greek yogurt, plain vanilla yogurt. And if you see the liquid starts to separate too much, that's when you can just, give it a nice little stir, incorporate it back in. And, they're not going to be perfect. It could all be, different sizes, just as long as they're pretty much filled all the way to the top. For this one, it did make more than the 12 mini muffins, but I feel if you use a standard size cupcake tin or even the larger muffin tin, you might get 6 from the muffin tin and probably 12, full-sized cupcakes. So the important thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning is that I have the oven preheating to 350 degrees. You don't have to preheat. If you want to make the batter first and preheat while you're making the batter, you can always do that. I like to just try to get as much apple and everything as I can down inside. If you want to top off with a little more where you feel they're light, it's totally up to you, whatever you feel more comfortable with doing. But I think for now this looks good. So what I will do is pop these into the 350-degree oven, probably somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes. And you just want to keep checking, you know, make sure they're not burning. I know everybody's oven is a little bit different. So if you feel you need to adjust, you know, adjust away. And I'll show you when they're out.